This team is a joke. Welcome everybody to JG9 News, where we talk all things NFL all the time. I'm Jared Garrett, and I'm representing the 904 for the 602. And today, I am so disgusted with this team. There's really no other way to say it. I'm disgusted. And the sad part is I knew this was coming. The sad part is I knew this was coming. I knew the Jaguars were going to find a way to mess this up. And sure enough, they did. Because the Jaguars announced today that they are franchise tagging Josh Allen, putting him on the $24 million tag. And what that means is that Calvin Ridley is now a free agent. Calvin Ridley is probably, barring a complete miracle, not coming back to Jacksonville, which means the Jags just traded away a third-round pick and another pick from last year for a rental player. Even though we all knew the Jags had to sign Calvin Ridley, they couldn't get it done. They couldn't get it done. Josh Allen, franchise tag. Look, I'm glad he's going to be back in Jacksonville. Don't get me wrong. I'm glad Josh Allen is back in Jacksonville. That's not the issue here. The issue here is that it never should have come to this point. Josh Allen should have been signed to a long-term deal, and Calvin Ridley should have gotten the tag. But you know what? Our GM is a moron. Our GM is a moron. Sean Khan has kept Trent Baalke on, and he is single-handedly ruining this franchise. Because I don't know why Trent Baalke couldn't get a deal done with Josh Allen, and now we got to franchise tag him on March 5th, 2024, when we knew this day was coming for years and years to come. It's not like Josh Allen just broke out last year. It's not like this was a proven kind of player. No, Josh Allen's been a blue-chip player for a long time. He's one of the best defensive players in Jags history. He should have been signed to a long-term deal a long, long time ago. After the Jags put the fifth-year option on Josh Allen for 2023, they had an entire year to do this. They had an entire year. And look, if you can't get it done, you can't get it done. Stuff happens. It's not a fluid process. It's not as though contract negotiations are easy. I get it. I completely get it. At the same time, Baalke didn't even talk to the man before a few days ago. He was procrastinating this till the last minute when we all knew this was happening. This was back in November. From Pro Football Talk, after the Jags beat the Texans in late November, Jacksonville pass rusher Josh Allen talked to Pro Football Talk about his performance that day. I asked him being Mike Florio, among other things, whether he wants a new contract, and Allen said, "Of course I want to get one." He also made it clear he wants from the Jaguars. He said there have been no talks towards signing anyone. And then at the Pro Bowl, which Josh Allen made because he's that good, made it to his second Pro Bowl, he talked about the contract situation with the Jaguars. He was furious at Trent Baalke for saying that he was going to be a Jaguar in 2024, even though Baalke didn't even talk. He didn't even talk with Josh Allen whatsoever. Allen's camp has been ready, willing, and waiting to engage in negotiations, but negotiations hadn't even begun yet. This was in late January for a player that we knew about for an entire year was going to be in this spot, and Trent Baalke had not even begun talking to the man. It's not a matter of knocking a deal to him at that point. He hadn't even started talking. He hadn't done any of the legwork. So, of course, the Jags were going to be in this spot. And now we're in a situation where instead of signing Josh Allen to a long-term deal and using the franchise tag on Calvin Ridley, we had to use the franchise tag on Josh Allen, had to waste it on him, and now let Calvin Ridley walk. And I can tell you this much, Calvin Ridley's not coming back. Calvin Ridley is not coming back. There is no way the Jags are going to be able to afford him. There's no way. It's going to be a bidding war for Calvin Ridley because this is the weakest wide receiver free agency class in quite some time. The weakest one I can remember. Mike Evans was the premier guy. He's not hitting free agency. He signed a 2-year deal to stay in Tampa Bay. Michael Pittman was better than Calvin Ridley, but he just got a franchise tag with the Indianapolis Colts. Calvin Ridley is the best receiver on the free agent market, and there is no one even remotely close. The bidding is going to be absolutely insane for Calvin Ridley's services. Who else is available? Who else besides Calvin Ridley is even remotely available that could command that kind of money? Odell Beckham with his injury history going to be in his 30s? No. Curtis Samuel? No. Tyler Boyd? No. A wide receiver 3? Valdez Scantling? I mean, look at the guys on this list. It's clear that Calvin Ridley is the best. Maybe you could see Hollywood Brown, but still, Calvin Ridley is, in my mind at least, hands down the number one receiver on this list. He's going to command a giant contract that the Jags will not be able to afford, and I didn't have to come to this spot. And you know what this does? Because the Jags had to pay $24 million for Josh Allen on the franchise tag, they had to cut so many players. Fatukasi had to cut Darius Williams, had to cut Rayshon Jenkins. I'm fine with cutting Fatukasi and Jenkins. Williams, not so much. I know he's on the older side of things, but he was our only good quarterback last year. And now the Jags have a new needed wide receiver. They need a wide receiver 1. They don't have that. They have it with Calvin Ridley. You don't have that now. And because you have to pay this money to franchise tag Josh Allen, you don't have a cornerback now because they cut Williams. You don't have a safety. We're just creating more and more needs that we didn't need to create in the first place. All while we have to fix the interior of the defensive line. All while we have to fix the interior of the offensive line. All while we only have $21 million in cap space to work with. And all while the Jags, because they traded away a third-round pick to get Calvin Ridley, only have 2 picks in the top 100. I know they're going to get a compensatory pick with the Jawan Taylor move, with he signed with the Chiefs in free agency. That'll be a third-round pick. That might be 97, 98. But still, the Jags have nothing to work with. The Jags have they have somehow created more holes before free agency even starts, and they don't have the capital and don't have the picks to do it. All because Trent Baalke refused to even talk with Josh Allen until a few days ago. It's insane. We knew this day was coming. We knew this was coming. This should have been the easiest negotiation in the world. You give Josh Allen whatever he wants, give him his money, and then you franchise tag Calvin Ridley, give him the third-round pick, and then you get the third-round pick from the Jawan Taylor compensatory move, and it's no harm, no foul. You get your wide receiver 1, and you get your franchise pass rusher locked up on a long-term deal. It's pretty easy. It's not hard. Every other organization in football can do this. Every other organization in football knows this except for Jacksonville. It's insane. It's insane. And look, I know Calvin really had his struggles last year. I know that, but he's still an awfully good receiver. I mean, the man hadn't played in 2 years. He got over 1,000 yards receiving, made it look effortless. And now the Jags are going into this free agency period, the weakest free agency period in years at wide receiver, with Christian Kirk, Zay Jones, who can't stay healthy and who dropped everything last year, and Parker Washington, who had 2 good games as their wide receiving corps. It's a bottom 5 wide receiving corps, so now that's an issue. So you figure, okay, you draft a receiver in round 1, but you can't, because quarterback is an issue, because you cut Williams, you cut Jenkins, and you got rid of the whole secondary because you had to franchise tag Josh Allen. So you figure, okay, wide receiver round 2, well, where does that leave the interior of the offensive line? Because that's a big issue. Luke Warner is the worst center in football. That was a problem. And if you can't do that, well, you know what? You only have 2 picks in the top 100 to work with. And you have $21 million of cap space to do it. You had 45, and now it's down to 21 because you had to franchise tag Josh Allen. This team made the easiest negotiation, the easiest thing in the world, the hardest thing ever. It should not have gotten to this point. Josh Allen talk should have been going on since April of last year. At the very least, they should have been going on in the middle of the season. At the very least, have more than a single conversation before the Chiefs won the Super Bowl. At the very least, talk to the man before. I don't even know what to say. I honestly don't even know what to say anymore. Calvin Ridley's gone. Josh Allen franchise tag. The Jags have now somehow created 5 new holes, it seems like. And they have no cap space to work with, really. And no draft picks to work with. This seems a mess. This team is an absolute mess, and Shah Khan doesn't see it. Trent Baalke doesn't see it. This team is a mess. I thought maybe things would change after you ended the season going 1-5 the final 6. Maybe there'd be a wake-up call. Apparently not. Apparently not. We're sticking with the status quo. Sticking with the status quo. Gonna be really happy when we go 5-12 next year. We're in the same exact situation we've been in for basically my whole life. Unreal. You have blue chip talent and you waste it. Blue chip talent and you just completely waste it because you don't even bother talking to the guy. And now we're in this position that we were going to be in. What are your thoughts on the whole situation? Because this is just a mess. This is just a mess. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Where do you think Calvin Ridley winds up? Because I can tell you this much, it's not Jacksonville. Maybe Kansas City, maybe Houston. I don't know. It's not going to be Jacksonville. So good job, Trent. Good job. You blew that. That's it for this episode of JG9 News. Yada, yada, yada. Go Jags. Yada, yada, yada. Fire Baalke.